Okay, hello everybody. This is my
Hello.
friend Whit,
Hello, hello.
and we're just getting together today just to talk about life, the universe, and all things magical. I mean, that's very broad, but we're going to
Yeah.
go into some topics that are really fun, that could be helpful to those who are guided to watch this video. So Whit, tell us a little bit about what you do and just whatever you want to share.
Awesome. So for those of you who don't know me, this is the first time seeing my face. I'm Whit. I like to call myself an empowerment guide with a camp counselor vibe, and that is basically just my way of embodying kind of my playful nature, and the tools that I utilize for empowerment are very playful in nature. And so I really embrace that in the work that I do. And most of the work that I do is around like I have a course out and a workbook, and like I put out meditations and like do a podcast. Like I just I feel very, very aligned with being in service to folks, and to let them know that like you are creating your reality and your moment to moment choices are your creations. And so it's so much fun and exciting. And so yeah, that's just a little snippet of what I do and how I do it. And I love chatting with family, soul fam, about different topics, and just seeing where it goes. So this conversation will be fun. I'm excited to see what we end up what ends up coming out of our mouths.
I know. It's always guided, and yeah, sometimes we surprise ourselves. So
Yep.
it's a lot of fun.
I can take as many notes as I want, and then the minute I like the record button hits, my higher self is like, here we go.
You're like, oh, I didn't expect that diversion.
Yep.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, all of it kind of ties together, the ideas and thoughts that we had. So I think a lot of us right now are really just trying to work on healing ourselves at the core and then expanding into our identity. And so that could be at the soul level, that could be in your purpose, that could be, your inner child, whatever it is that you are really needing to nurture at this time. And so I don't know, maybe share some things. We can both share some things that have worked for us for kind of nurturing ourselves and just expanding our souls, all the things I just mentioned. So, do you have any initial thoughts or do you want me to start? Doesn't matter to
Yeah,
me.
I would say like the main thing that's coming in right now is like I like that you brought up like there's different kind of ways you can look at identity, like your inner child or your like physical self or your soul self. Like all of that is like a mesh together in this
Mhm.
expression, right?
Yes.
Um, but I think for me, what has been helpful lately, and I've done this off and on throughout my life, but is when I'm focusing on an identity piece. So like I'm just going to give an example of like I'm a daughter, like I'm a sister, so those are
Mhm.
pieces of my human expression and the relationships I have in this life expression. But it's not necessarily like encompassing all of me, right? Like those are just like certain aspects. But when I'm engaging with my parents or with my brother, whatever it happens to be, like I'm kind of zeroed in on that identity piece and kind of seeing how it plays out with those people. And especially when I'm doing my own self healing with those relationships, if there's anything I need to take a look at there, I don't want to disregard and say, hey, being a sister, being a daughter are less important than, my soul like origin or anything like that, right? I have had experiences in my past where I have been like, well, this is less than.
Mhm.
I'm choosing this experience. I chose to be a daughter. I chose to be a sister. So like embracing that as part of this experience, this physical experience. Um, and so yeah, I guess that's the first thing that's popping in is like embracing all the different identities, regardless of whatever level or whatever expression they are, but not remaining so attached to them. Like I'm not like sisterhood is like my entire world. You know what I mean? Like it is a
Yeah.
part of my expression. Um, so yeah, I guess I'll start there and just say like that's kind of the lens that I'm taking right now. Did that spark anything for you?
A little bit. Yeah. At first, well, that's towards the end. I'm going to work backwards. I was
Yeah.
thinking, oh, I had worked so much on my inner child, but then I found an aspect of her that was just so suppressed. I didn't even know it was not
Yeah.
functioning.
Yeah.
And then I did on a different level because it was expressing physically, but I'm like, wait a minute, why didn't you come up with the rest of the inner child work I've been doing?
Uh-huh.
And so I really had to dig into that. And then also just looking at my identity because I was forced to look at that when it was trying to be stolen from me
Mm.
um, by just some energies I was married to. Um, and it was not for my highest good, but it also allowed me to, well, I mean, it was, but at the time, it did not feel like that. All of it pushed me into a space of really addressing who I am outside of other people, while
Yeah.
still connected to other souls, and really just fine tuning all of that and growing and healing and strengthening to boost where I am here at this moment and where I'm meant to go beyond that. So
Mhm.
kind of vague, but all of those experiences pushed me into my soul's purpose, my soul's identity, which connects to all of it, like you said.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
also a sister, um, and a daughter, of course, and a mother, and I consider mother to my fur babies too.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's all of it put together, and how does that harmoniously work together for our greatest and highest, purest good?
Yes. Yes. And like kind of figuring that out, like what is for my highest good right now in this moment
Mhm.
for me. And that, a lot of people talk about this. I'm not the first one to say this, but like for me, when I'm thinking about identity pieces and aspects of that, like what am I most excited about or interested in, I guess, maybe in this moment? I guess like taking it back a little bit of an excitement piece for me when I was kind of like jumping into the more energy, consciousness, spiritual aspects of my identity, I really gravitated towards star seeds. I was just like, oh, what's this?
Yes.
Like, what is this? What is it? And then I was like, I'm Andromedan. Like, I just like that's who I am. And like that has been an expression point for me in the like many life expressions that I have going on all at once, right? So I wasn't wrong to say that's me. Like, yes, it is an aspect of me that exists uh,
Yes.
out there. And in that moment, it was so important for me to embrace that and to like really hone in on it and be like, wow, what does this mean to me
Mhm.
through this perspective point right now? Like being Andromedan or being a star seed. Like why am I so intrigued by this?
Exactly.
Um, and for me, it was helpful. And again, I'm going to bring it back to attachment stuff. Is I held on to that like pretty tightly for maybe about a year, where I was like, oh yes, this is who I am. And then I got to a point where I was like, but that's not all I am. That is like a piece of it.
Yep.
And that has been super helpful. And it gets pretty abstract, which we kind of alluded to it, talked about, where it gets pretty vague and abstract, the like farther out you go and the more like, it's like, who am I? I am all the things, like, right?
Yes.
Like it
Yes.
can get really big really fast. So,
Right.
playing with perception of like how zoomed in, how zoomed out do I want to go? Am I looking micro or macro at my identity?
Mhm.
Um,
And they were all building blocks, right?
yeah.
So it's like you said, you focused on that because you needed to experience and remember what that was like, perhaps, and other aspects of that. And then you can go, oh, and then it just expands your own universe as well from there, which
Hmm.
really ties in the magic of the universe. So,
Yes.
yeah, it's like we have these moments that bring us back into focus of who we are, who we're meant to be, because it's all for a reason.
Hmm.
So I love the way you explain that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. The reason piece feels so important. So if anybody's listening and you're just like if you're intrigued by Starseed, you're intrigued by Soul Group, you're intrigued by whatever, like there are rabbit holes to go down for a good reason. Right? And
Mhm.
explore that. Um, and I think it's kind of, to me, it feels like my higher self being like leaving little breadcrumbs, like, hey, like
Yes.
try looking at that, try
Nudge,
looking at
nudge.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yep, yep.
takes me like 3 times to really pay attention. Oh,
Yeah.
you want me to look at that? Okay, I get it. I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. It comes up in different ways. Someone will say it in conversation. I'll see it in a video, and then like
Yes.
I'll see a book on a bookshelf. I'm like, got it, got it, got it, got it.
I love TikTok for that too. It's like I've been
Yeah.
mulling over these different topics, and then there's 3 videos in a row confirming it.
Yes. Yes. That has been so helpful for me as well, where it's just like,
Hmm.
yeah. And things where I haven't said out loud. So I'm like, my phone wasn't listening to me. I know. I
Uh-huh.
was like, I know I didn't say that out loud. And all of a sudden it's like right there. And I'm like, okay,
Uh-huh.
here it is.
All the time. All the time. Yeah, that's a little tip if you're really tuning in to your path. Because I have this thing where I can see for most people, their highest timeline for themselves and how they're diverting from that too. And when
Mm,
people try to force things or they just let things flow. And so some of those little guiding tools, it's like, are we ignoring those? Or are we grabbing onto them and paying attention? Or are we grabbing onto them too fiercely to where we divert again in a
right.
different direction? You know?
Totally.
So it's just letting it ebb and flow and just sitting with yourself and being still and going, no, this is the right path. This is the
Yeah.
one I need at this
Yep.
moment. Yeah.
Yes. Something that was just coming in right now is that like desire to know, this
Mhm.
desire to, and it comes down to identity, I think a lot, like knowing ourselves, but also just knowing, what is truth, what is not. And like it can be so tempting to like really grip hard on whatever it is, right? Something that you're like, this is truth for me or whatever. And like you said, like at some point, maybe there's another breadcrumb over here, but you're gripping this and you're missing the next piece that's over there.
Yeah.
And so just the kind of I don't know. Again, I'm going to come back to play. It's like
Mhm.
dancing with this over here for a little bit. Oh, oh, I see this over here. It doesn't mean I'm disregarding this. It doesn't mean this isn't important, but I'm
Mhm.
just going to now follow my excitement and interest that's over here right now. And I'm going to go dance over here. And um, yeah, that just feels that feels to me more in flow.
Yeah.
Where I'm allowing both to be but not kind of choosing one or the other, if that makes sense. And I think as
Yeah.
humans, we tend to want to be like, well, we can't have it all. That's its own construct, right? Of like belief around like what can we hold? Can we hold it all? I mean, I would argue that we can. Like,
Right. I always say anything is possible.
yeah.
Absolutely anything. We just are learning how to get there. So,
Yes.
when people put, yeah, like it's all compartmentalized in these little boxes, I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why do we do that? I mean, maybe some of it's brain structure and things like that,
Yeah.
but why do we have to live in that space anyway? Can we all break free from that if
Yes.
we need to or want to, choose to? Probably
Yes.
so. Yeah.
Yes. The boxes can be helpful. I would say if you want to play around with the boxes, go for it. And also at a certain point, for me, it has felt limiting. Where I just felt
Yes.
like I wanted to expand further and I felt like I was like, how do I
Uh-huh.
get out of this? Oh, I created a box. Oh, got it.
Yes. I know. I think I've always lived in the gray. I think, and that's in a good way.
Yeah.
I can be decisive if I need to, but sometimes at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't want to be decisive anymore. We're done.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, I've always been like, but okay, if someone says hard and fast, this is how this is, I'm like, I don't think so. I mean, you can live there if you want, that's fine, but I'm not going to, and that's okay.
Yes.
And that's okay. We all have to get through our process. And maybe I did
Exactly.
live there in the past in some levels, I'm sure. I had to learn that at some point.
Yes. Yeah. The absolutes, talking in absolutes or thinking in absolutes doesn't feel aligned for me at this point where it's like, yeah, this means this and only this, and you have to do
Mhm.
this and that type of thing. It's like,
Mhm.
mm, if that feels aligned for me, specifically wits right now, then yeah, I'll follow that.
Mhm.
But I'm not going to put it on anyone else, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. If I, and I've expanded so much in the last 5 to 10 years Like if I had allowed myself to just stick in a box, then I might not be where I am. I might not have met you and
Yeah.
Honey, all these amazing souls that I meant to connect with, had I not been open to expansion and learning, this higher truth and connecting with my authentic soul, my higher self, everything authentic about me, just
Mhm.
really restoring everything back into where it's meant to be
Yeah.
versus suppressed and trauma and all these layers that I've had to trudge through um over all the soul's experiences to get here.
Yeah. A question just popped into my head
Yeah.
about authentic self. Is there a way that you can sense that you're like expressing your authentic self in whatever moment, right? Because for me, it changes moment to
Mhm.
moment. I'm like, this feels
Mhm.
authentic. Now over here, now over here. But do you get a sense of that of like, ooh, like it feels a certain way or you think a certain way, whatever it is?
I think so. That's a really good question because I think I just do that naturally. I think now
Yeah.
that I have cleared out so much of the other stuff, when some of those old things come in that are more 3D, I put those things in those categories like somebody's hurt responses to something. And I'm like, okay, this could normally hurt me, but it doesn't need to. My authentic self is to send love and matter of factly respond as I'm guided to. It's really going back to like, what is my soul's guide right now? Like,
Yeah.
what am I being guided to do? Like you said, moment to moment. So yeah, authentic can be all different spaces. And so as long as I'm feeling solid, free of stress, anxiety, fear, I think that's an authentic space for me.
Uh-huh.
And that's a very simplified answer. I think there's more to it. I'm
Yeah.
not sure how to put words to that, honestly.
Well, and I was gonna comment that like, and I just was having this conversation, so it's so timely and amazing that for me, I've noticed when things are simple and when things are concise, it feels more aligned with my heart and
Hmm.
less heady. The moment I put words and words and words and words, and I'm like spending 20 minutes explaining something, that
Hmm.
is my physical mind. That is,
Hmm. Hmm.
so like, I think there are certain kind of maybe beliefs and constructs out there like, oh, if you articulate for longer, you're more intelligent or you're expressing yourself more, whatever it is. And
Right.
that doesn't have to be the case and it doesn't have to
No.
be true. At least for me, like sometimes my expression is very non-verbal and it is
Mhm.
more with my body and it's my, gestures and it's tones that come out and all that stuff, right? Like
Yep.
and that feels authentic to me. So it's just interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because it's sometimes it doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it can be a very simple
Yes.
done.
I think that's why I always struggled writing like lengthy papers in college and things like that. I'm
Yes.
like, I can say this in two thoughts, and that should be enough, right?
Yep. Yep.
And people are always like, no, tell me more. I'm like, I'm just gonna repeat what I said in a different way.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I had the exact same thing where they'd be like, write 10 pages and I'd be done in 5. I'm like,
Right.
I've got nothing else on this.
I know.
And it feels like a waste of my time to
It is.
reiterate it 3 more times to you.
And it is, it is because then how authentic is it if we have to stay within that box again, coming back to that, how authentic is it for our soul's expression? It's
Hmm.
playing the game that's presented to us. So we've had to do a lot of that to get to our authentic selves.
Yeah.
And I've always disliked playing games. I just don't like to do that. So the more, and that's another, I think, factor that I could say would be if I see a game being played, I will steer clear of that to hold on to my authenticity.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So
Every once in a while I'll be like, I'll play with you for a bit. And then my soul's like, we're done. I'm like, okay.
there's been times I've had to like work outside of the construct too, just to protect my kids or whatever, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know what games were until I was like in my 20s. I was like, what is this?
Hmm.
I didn't
Hmm.
notice it. I didn't pay attention. I just kind of floated along,
Yeah.
not really engaging in it. So,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
unknowingly, maybe. I don't know, but
Sure, sure.
yeah, I just
Yeah.
don't want to live there. So yeah, becoming our highest self is just always my goal for myself. And if I step outside of that, it does not feel good. Typically, I'll be brought right back to center
Yeah.
in one way, shape, or the other, just from whatever energies are nudging me back to go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. It's sometimes it'll be very subtle,
Mhm.
but sometimes it'll be like
Yes.
and either way I appreciate it. I'm like, okay, here ya.
Yeah. 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 One thing that's coming to mind just for people, if you want something to do, is just to ask your, I say body, mind, soul, just to connect every part of you.
Mhm.
Is this particular thing right in front of me for my highest good? Um, and then feel into that or muscle test it or sit with it and go, is this going to lead me, keep me on my highest timeline with this choice?
Mhm.
You know, especially if you're having that hesitation or that intuitive nudge to sit with it for a little longer. It's
Yeah.
important to pay attention to.
Yes. And if I've found too, if I am not sure still after doing that and I make a choice or I like start to be like, okay, I'm going to entertain this. And immediately I'm like, oh, I actually don't want that. That's an answer. That
Yes.
is an answer.
Good way to say that. I love that. Mm-hmm.
Because it can be sometimes, I mean, we're all going through it and learning and all that stuff. It can be
Uh-huh.
like, well, I don't know which one's for my highest, which one's for my best. And sometimes it's like, sometimes it is just choose something and just see, just experience, right? Like that's some of the answers that I get, where it's like either way, it's fine. You're having an experience.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Then I'll ask, does it matter? In this case, did the yes or no matter?
right, right.
Um, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And just I think the self-love comes in too. If I do go down a path that's like, that wasn't for my highest, but I learned a lot. So actually, I can turn it into my highest because I learned things down
Yeah.
this path that I wouldn't have experienced had I gotten on this one.
Right.
So I really see, like, in so many different ways that, like, regardless of your choices, like,
Mm-hmm.
you can turn it into some amazing lessons and learning opportunities about your own self and
Yes.
kind of bring you closer into your authentic being.
Right.
So that I'm just saying that because I feel like
Yeah.
I can relate to beating myself up a little bit when I go down paths that I know aren't for my best. And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
some people maybe listening might be
Yeah.
relating to that. So there's just learning. It's learning.
It is. I mean, just for a simple example, this morning I was like, okay, I need to probably, spend some time with my inner child. And I just instead I wanted to sit and be pouty.
Yeah.
Like, that's not me. I wanted to check out for a couple hours, and my highest self was like, don't you dare this morning. Like, you need to like I'm hearing buck it up, but I didn't hear that this morning. So it's like, no, just spend some time in this area. It'll feel much more loving for yourself, and then you can move into the next phase when you're ready.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there's all sorts of those layers. Yeah, and some of it was contracted, right? So we had to go through these things in order to continue to grow, to heal, to nurture all parts of us
Yep.
again. So
Yep. Exactly.
it's been
Exactly.
so fun.
Yeah, I enjoy chatting with you, Amelia. It's fun.
It is fun. We could talk for days.
I know, right? Go down so many different paths. Yeah.
Oh, I know, easily. Um, so maybe we could, if you're ready to kind of bring it all together, like what we're all doing as a collective, individually, your purpose, my purpose is coming together to be the full expression of the magic of the universe. That's a big thing. Doesn't that feel big? But I
Does.
keep telling people, you know what, you are so magical. You
Uh-huh.
have the capacity for infinite magic. Whatever you are ready to grab onto, it's yours.
Yes.
And they're like, what?
Yes. It feels big and it's also like true that we are big.
Yes.
So it's one of those things. It's like the bigness feeling of it. Like I get it. Like maybe in this human vessel, like self is like, oh, whoa, that's a lot. And it's like, our soul's like, yeah, dude, we got this. Like,
Right. Yeah, and then that clicks into place. You're like, oh, that wasn't actually that bad, but it
hmm
feels so big. Like you said, it's just so expansive. We've not been here before in this same way.
yeah.
And so everything we're going through is so unique and so powerful. And I mean, just even when I go onto TikTok again and you pop up and others pop up, it's like people are recognizing that.
hmm
They're grabbing onto truths that they've never been conscious of before. That includes for themselves and for the world. So all of that's coming together and it's creating this beautiful, what's the word? Maybe you have words for it. It's just like this,
I mean, tapestry is coming in, but that,
it's great. It's all
yeah.
woven together, just like behind you.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's an exciting time and like regardless of like where each of us are at, like we're all doing it. We're all doing it. And
Mhm.
even I would go as far as to say even people that maybe aren't super super aware, they're also doing it in their own way, right? They're also a part of it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's just exciting to me.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what we all create together
Right.
as
Because
a
the things
collective.
things that you see are different than I see. And then another person, other souls over here experiencing this, and they're like, why is this happening? And then I can see that. And so we're all kind of like, I use this analogy with a client earlier today, just about it's the pinball machine. It's like all ding, 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 and it's
Yeah.
the end goal is the same.
hmm
But we're all bouncing around trying to figure it out.
Yep. Yep. And we're doing
Yeah,
it.
it's happening. So if you need a word of encouragement today, it's happening. And so, and if you need support, find the support you need too. So
Mhm.
that is
Yes.
nothing to be ashamed of. So,
No, no. I ask for support often. And, people might be like, well, you do empowerment work. Like, why do you need support? I'm like, we're not meant to go this alone. Like, and
oh,
especially where we're at right now with our co-creative, piece and really leaning into community and soul family, like, you
mhm,
know, there's an aspect of really leaning into the support or the cheering each other on or whatever it
yes.
happens to be. So I would say even the people that you might watch on YouTube that you think, oh, they've got everything pieced together, they're still asking for support too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's so helpful because perspective can really just help it click into place. Even just that alone, just bouncing it off. I had a friend earlier. She's like, I really needed to talk this through with you.
Mhm.
And I'm like, great. So let's do it. It's,
Yep.
and I need to talk through stuff with her. So
Exactly.
it's all working together for the highest good of humanity if we choose it to allow that.
Yes.
So
I choose it.
I'm with you. I choose it every moment of every day,
Yes.
despite my little blips.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, do you have
Awesome.
any final words? I don't know.
Oh, gosh. I mean, that feels pretty complete to me. I just,
Mhm,
I mean, this is just coming from my heart. And what I always like to say is just like, I love everybody so much. Like, I have so much like heart for
mhm,
everyone, whether you're in the middle of doing this work or you're kind of just starting it or wherever you are.
mhm,
Um, yeah, there's so much love there. And it's yeah.
mhm.
So I'm excited for you. I'm excited for me. I'm excited for all of us. And I have so much
Yes,
love that I
yes,
just like to send out to people. So
I'm with you. Yeah. And a lot of the work I do with clients too is just to help them bring that love back to their heart centers. Sometimes it's been displaced energetically.
yeah.
And because of just all of our experiences have not been the easiest.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, um, I think that's huge. I think that's huge. That's a big way we can connect with others is through that heart center and the higher heart on the thymus side. It's like the whole thing,
Yeah.
um, the whole picture. So, I don't know. I think that's all I had to say on that. But, um, Yes, I'm just so excited to see the next phases for humanity, and I'll post all of our links below too, so we can connect with whomever we need to, or are meant to, whatever's for, again, your highest good in that moment. So,
Sounds
um,
good.
and then
Thanks
hopefully
for
we'll
having
just
me on here.
spinning. Yeah, thank you. It was like a random thought, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like, I don't know what I was doing. I was busy doing something. And I'm like, I need to do this with Whit.
Here we go.
And here we are. So
Awesome.
that's how I live my life these days. And it's fun.
Yes.
So
Brilliant.
yes. Well, sending you so much love, sending the audience so much love. And again, whatever's meant to be, we will connect as we're meant to. So,
Sounds good.
all right, I will stop. Bye.